Hey, what's up? This is Jay Crimson from the Crimson Cult Podcast. If you are interested in starting your own podcast like me, there's no place to go but Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the best and easiest way to make a podcast. You can trim, edit, add music, add background noises, whatever, all on your phone. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thanks for listening.
Sorry, Jay.
You're okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, everybody who's listening, this is Lloyd Kaufman, American film director and co-founder of Troma Films. How are you, Lloyd?
Great. I was just looking at, listening to Crimson podcast and couldn't tear myself away. Thank you for including me.
Thank you for being a part of it. So, how's the day?
Hello?
How was the day today?
Well, I'm in New York, so the day is got a lot more going on. But what are you going to do? It's COVID time and lockdown time.
Yeah.
And the good news is that Troma Now is booming. Our fans have supported it. Troma Now is our Netflix. It's you go to watch.troma.com and you see 1,000 movies. So I've been doing a lot of work on that streaming service. You go to watch.troma.com. First month is free, by the way.
Excellent.
And we've been able to acquire, in fact, we're premiering this month, The Frankenhooker. We've been up for about 5 years, so there's about 1,000 different movies and shorts and documentaries and music videos, Tromette collectibles, and you can get a date there, too. Like, great community for people who love movies like you.
Right. That sounds awesome, actually. Okay.
Over now.
So,
And it won't be long. Soon, right now it's just watch.troma.com. First month is free, and then it's only $4.99. But it will soon be available on Roku and all the platforms. You know, the app is just about finished. So right now you have to go to the website, watch.troma.com. But the app will be ready very soon.
So, you graduated from Yale University, class of 68, and you majored in Chinese studies.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being so well prepared. Appreciate it.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Chinese studies, huh?
Well, in those days, China was, again, this is more than 50 years ago that I graduated. So in those days, nobody thought about China. It was before President Nixon went there, before China became so genocidal and so much of a dictatorship. And I thought, since I had spent my high school years, basically, they taught me American and European history, and not very much of it. I knew nothing about Asia, nothing about Africa. So I decided to devote my higher education, and I mean high, to China and Asia. I spent 1 year in Chad, in Central Africa, living in the bush with no electricity or running water. A lot of naked people running around, animals, whatever. And then I majored in Chinese studies and had 8 o'clock classes for some stupid me. And the language classes were 8 a.m. 5 times a week. Can't believe I did it. And I must have done it because I have a certificate that says I graduated from Yale University. Any event, but in my day, I honestly believe that education was supposed to be broadening, and it was supposed to open your horizons, to open your mind, become a fuller human being. Today, it's more about who can we piss on and making lots of money. There doesn't seem to be any other interest other than pissing on people. So that was why I did the Chinese studies. We got 3 or 4 billion people over there, and now I think it's 7 billion. But when I was coming along, so I never expected to go to China, but Nixon opened it up, and 1979 actually we started going there. Been there about a dozen times, but the way it is now, I'll never go back. Not with the outrageous behavior, right? Exterminating Muslims, right? We're supposed to love Muslims. Why is China exterminating them? When that happens somewhere else, we get very upset.
Yeah.
I haven't heard much about Rashid, who was a member of the Squad. I haven't heard her and AOC saying much against this autocratic dictatorship China, right? It's fascist, and it's exterminating Tibetan culture and exterminating the Muslim race in China. The Uyghurs. The Uyghurs. Millions of them are in concentration camps. The Hollywood studios are censoring their scripts to please the Chinese government. They did that with the Nazis also. So anyway, here we are. So I did a whole major in China, and I love the Chinese culture, and but I'll never go back.
Right, that's a shame.
It is a shame. It definitely is a shame. It's a shame that they've evolved into such a disgusting country. The people, I'm sure, are very nice, but they have no freedom of speech. They killed, I think China, even we, as miserable as the United States is, I don't think we ever killed a Nobel Peace Prize winner. China did. And they've killed many others who were supposedly, who they put in jail because they speak their minds. Ai Weiwei, one of the world's greatest artists, is living here because he cannot make art freely or speak his mind in China. So I'm done. I'm done with him. I'm sorry to say. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's been a horrible turn toward great dictatorships and autocratic governments, and we just had 4 years of crazy semi-autocracy here in the United States, but it seems to have swung back to an attempt by Biden to bring back democracy, and I think he's doing a great job. I'm quite surprised. I never expected Biden to. I think he's rising to greatness. I think he is definitely going to make a good difference.
So you've had classes at Yale University with Oliver Stone and George W.
I never met George W., but I did see that freshman year he was going around campus looking for weapons of mass destruction. I never could figure that one out. The only time I met George W. was at our 25th reunion. The class, if you paid for it, they had a day in Washington, and President Bush invited us to a barbecue. So Yale, the class 1968, chartered a train, and if you could pay $400, you went down there and it was going to be outdoors, but unfortunately there was a torrential rainstorm. So according to the president at the time, it was the largest indoor gathering of any White House event in history, which I can't believe because Andrew Jackson had the whole country, and so they wrecked the White House. my dad like a big. He let everybody, it was an open door to the White House. But in any event, it was a huge crowd. It was all indoors, and you could see power. You could see power because there was President Bush, and so many of my classmates were squeezed, squashed around him like flies to shit. And I'm a publicity hound, but I was certainly not going to have my photograph taken with that particular president. I think my fans would have killed me. But based on what came after him, he wasn't so bad. Other than the Iraq War, he didn't do too much harm. Although the Iraq War was pretty bad. It's still going on. That one in Afghanistan, not so good. And I guess Trump even beat him as being the worst president. Or maybe Andrew Johnson. I don't know. Love to know who people think is the worst president in history. I guess we need more time. We have to wait 50 years and then we can decide. At any rate, Buchanan is up there too. James Buchanan. It was pretty bad. So, getting back to whatever I was talking about, I can't remember. What was I talking about?
Did you?
Hey, the band doing? I looked you up. Seems like you have a nice band.
Oh, my band?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, No Class Assassins. We're from the Port Huron, Michigan area, St. Clair County area. We can see Canada. I can see Canada from where I'm parked right now. It's interesting.
Can you see Canada from your front porch? No, that's a joke.
No.
That's a joke from that woman, a crazy woman who almost became vice president. Well, great, Port Huron. Wow, so you have beautiful countryside, and it must be beautiful where you are, huh?
Yeah, I like being by the water. It's kind of cool. I didn't pay attention so much when I was younger, but now that I'm in my 30s, I can appreciate it more.
Yes, absolutely. You're very fortunate. And you're in the right spot. One of my daughters is an expert on, she was Al Franken's environmental expert when she was working in Washington. And when Al Franken was senator, and she's all about the climate disasters. So she suggests that exactly where you are is the ideal spot. You're near water, you're north enough, so that global warming isn't going to screw up too much the environment compared to what it's doing below. Right, all these fires and tornadoes and whatever.
It's unfortunate.
So that particular daughter, and by the way, that daughter who appears in Troma's War, who played the jingoistic baby who gets kidnapped in Troma's War, she founded a group called Kit Split, kitsplit.com, K-I-T as in Thomas.com, and you can. It's a peer-to-peer film and video moving image equipment place. So if you have a camera that you don't use all the time, you put it on that site, and maybe I'll rent it from you while you're not using it. Or if I want a cheap camera to rent, one of the best cameras, but I want to pay 75% less than the equipment house, I go to KitSplit, and I can get the best equipment. And we did for my latest movie, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. We used KitSplit equipment, and we had terrific equipment. Top quality for, I think, about a third of the normal price. Nice. So, pretty interesting. Yeah, now she's doing something else. But KitSplit is going very nicely, yeah. She's still, officer on the board, but she's starting something new now. And I think it's something to do with global warming in an economic way. There's a business, something. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but she's a very entrepreneur. But KitSplit, for all you filmmakers out there, or audio equipment, any equipment, any moving image audio equipment, you can find it on KitSplit. And they have offices in New York, L.A., and I think maybe Philadelphia. But it's very good, very reasonable and easy, user-friendly.
So I had the horrible idea of making a short film on a Sony Handycam, and you can hear the motor run or the tape turning the entire film. I was talking to Mr. D'Amico about maybe possibly getting you to watch this film. It's 49 minutes long. It's on YouTube. It's called Green Hell, a J. Crimson film. And
Great. So Green Hill.
Yeah, and it's
how do you spell the name?
Green as in the color, and then Hell.
Oh, Hell.
H-E-L-L, yeah.
Because there was a big financial disaster in the United Kingdom, in England, about a company called Green Hill, some kind of hedge fund, $1 billion hedge fund, and I think it went broke last week. So.
Wow.
Green Hill went to Green Hell.
Yeah.
Sure. Send it in. I would love to see it. Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah, I think Tom. I sent it to Tom, and okay. Tom told me to send it to someone else, and I believe I emailed that person.
Yeah, John Ferry. He curates Troma now, but I'd love to watch it. Send it to me. Have you got my email? I can't remember.
I have Tom's, and that's about it.
Oh, here, take mine and send it to me.
Okay.
Lloyd, L-L-O-Y-D, as in David. Lloyd, L-L-O-Y-D-K, as in Kaufman, at Troma, Troma, .com. Lloyd K at Troma.com. Yeah, I'd love to see it. By the way, I've been watching, I'm pretty bored, but I'm 75 years old, so that's why old people get really boring. But I'm watching Turner Classic Movies, where they have the on demand, and they have all these movies and for free. And what the hell am I saying? Why am I saying that? Why did you? Oh yeah, these old movies. You can hear the cameras. I swear, my wife and I, and these are great movies. Real Hollywood with big stars, and you can hear this kind of hissing or on all of them, especially the older black and white ones. So I think it's the same thing where you maybe you hear the camera whirring, the whir of the grinding of the gears, and they weren't able to blimp the cameras enough. But it's on almost every film they show. You hear this kind of, it's not a hiss, but it's, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of what you're saying about your video movie.
Yeah, the old Sony Handycam.
Yes, I had one. I have a Sony 4K now. And even that's out of date. That's 5 years old at least. So shows you. That's why Kip Split's very good, because it's at least in New York. I'm sure where you are, you don't have to lock your doors, but in New York, everything gets stolen. We used to have all this great. We had a Nagra, Nagra, which is a reel-to-reel golden standard tape recorder for sync sound before digital, of course, and it got ripped off. We've had, everything gets ripped off in New York, so it's best to rent, at least the way I see it. Or things break, but nobody tells you they're broken, and then you want to go use them, and suddenly they've been put back, but they don't work. So it's better, I think, to go to Kid Split. And the future, the stuff evolves so quickly. Right? It's like the chips. Every 10 minutes, the chips get smaller and smaller or something.
Yeah, could you imagine if we had the phones that we have today back in the 80s and 90s? Yeah,
that's right.
You can film a whole movie on a phone now.
Yes, and it's great. It's great. You're right. The sound isn't that great, but the picture is great. Patty Pie. Sorry, hold on, Jay, 1 second.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out this COVID thing. Can you look at this chart and see which one? I can't tell where you. It looks like the walk-in location is only in the Manhattan. It doesn't look like I can make an appointment in Manhattan. Can you look at this paper, please? Sorry, my wife is. I have to get a COVID test. When you get old, Jay, what instrument do you play?
I'm actually the front man. I scream into a microphone.
Oh, so it's you. Ah, great. Cool. Very cool. Well, can't wait to see the movie here.
Excellent.
The two of them. My wife, by the way, was the New York State Film Commissioner for 20 years, appointed by both Republican and Democratic governors. And recently she produced the fabulous hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, which hopefully is going to start in the movie theaters if and when they are reopening, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen a few movies so far.
Have you been to a theater?
Yeah, it's not. They're not allowing it to get full, of course, but probably about 25% capacity.
Yeah, I guess that's about average.
Yeah.
Anything good?
What did I see? I seen the new Wrong Turn, and I was surprised with it.
That's like got to be Wrong Turn 4 or 5.
I think it's actually more than that. I think that it's 8.
Wow, unbelievable.
I liked them. I liked the one with Henry Rollins in it. I think that was part 2.
Yeah, part 2 was. I get them all mixed up. I haven't seen all of them.
That was the one with Henry Rollins was the game show host, and it was like Survivor.
I think I saw part 3. I saw the one directed by Joe Lynch, which was quite good also.
And then they had one that was based in the wintertime with the snow.
Did Oliver Stone do the original, or is that Tarantino wrote it? So I guess I just walk in.
I guess, there's 2 on 77th Street. I don't know which it's with.
Well, I'll go, I have to go 72 hours. I'll just wait. That's all I can do.
I know, but what I'm saying is I don't want to.
Sorry, Jay, yeah.
You don't want to go to the one that charges $2,000.
No, I'll ask before doing anything.
And only the something I make in today's paper.
Yeah.
The ones that consider themselves, the ones that charge that ridiculous amount are ones that consider it an emergency room visit. So you have to make sure where you go doesn't consider your visit an emergency room visit.
Right. Okay.
But can you ask your doctor?
Yeah.
There are 2 on 77th Street.
Yeah, I'll call Lisette. She knows everything. Okay. She's a doctor. She's the Priscilla for Engel. No, not Engel. Sorry. No, it's Priscilla I got to talk to, I think. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, Jay.
No, you're fine. So, Make Your Own Damn Movie is your book. Are you going to write any more books?
I've written 7 books. It shows you how Troma is a 47-year-old movie studio, but the penetration into the real world is minute, right? We're a cult movie studio. Our following is maybe we have 1 million people who visit our sites during a month, which is nothing. We're a classic cult movie studio, I would say. So, I've written 7 books, one of which I wrote with James Gunn, kind of my memoir called All I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. That's a really funny one. Make Your Own Damn Movie is how-to more, and then there's other how-tos. Direct your own damn movie, produce your own damn movie, and sell your own damn movie. And then The Toxic Avenger, the novel, and then another novel called Pests, about a kid who is a exterminator. Not like the Chinese government, but goes after bugs. Different kind of exterminator.
So you originally wanted to be a social worker.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I thought. Or a teacher. I admired I had excellent teachers in high school, but again, I had a very strict Latin school kind of high school. Very all boys, extremely strict, ties and jackets every day, that kind of stuff. And we had uniform, blazer. Trinity School. Truman Capote went there, and Humphrey Bogart went there, and Oliver Stone went there. George Bush did not go there. But anyway, to New York. Now it's co-ed, but it was very strict in my day, and the whole idea was you had to go to college, you had to take the college boards. You didn't get into Yale, your life was nothing. So that's the propaganda we got. So as a result, it went the other way. When I got to Yale, I discovered movies. I didn't even know what a director was. My roommate was a movie nut and ran the Yale Film Society. Freshman year, I happened to be paired. I didn't know him. It was just by chance. And so I started to watch the movies that he and his colleagues were programming. And he and the Film Society at that time were very much under the influence of the auteur theory of filmmaking, the French. I don't know if you follow any of this, but after the war, there was a lot of French journalists who worshipped the director. The powerful film director became their hero. So Charlie Chaplin, John Ford, Howard Hawks, Buster Keaton, these newspaper people, these journalists were Jean-Luc Godard, Claude Chabrol, Bertrand Tavernier, who just died last week, 2 or 3 others. And they came up with the auteur theory of cinema, which suggests that the most important films are those that the director controls, that the director is the author. Auteur means author. That the director should be in control of every aspect of the movie. So the Film Society at Yale had a stack of these French magazines called the Cahiers de Cinéma, which is the magazine of the French Cinémathèque Française. It's like the Kennedy Center in France, except it's the most prestigious film museum and archival organization in the world. So what I can read, I speak fluent French, being a bourgeois. I had learned it at home, and so I started reading. Nobody was reading these magazines. I started thumbing through them, and eventually I bought into this theory of filmmaking. It was in the same way that an artist controls his paint and his paintbrush and his palette and his easel and the paper on the easel. So we should be controlling our cinema art. So I, at some point, kept coming in and watching these movies on the Yale Film Society, the auditorium, and they happened to program mainly films that they felt were of merit, which meant they were very much into the director, which meant everybody from Jerry Lewis to Jean Renoir to Fritz Lang in Germany to Eisenstein in Russia to Ingmar Bergman to Chaplin. Again, this is in the 60s, so Tarantino wasn't around, and Spike Lee wasn't around, and but today I guess they would be considered auteur directors. And I am an auteur film director, but I'm in New York, and I'm deep in the weeds of the underground.
Right. You also did some freelance work. So Rocky, I want to hear this Rocky story. Rocky was edited on Troma's flatbed machines?
Not quite, but in the large picture, I had worked with John G. Avildsen, the director of Rocky, on Joe, a wonderful low-budget movie that actually got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. It was Peter Boyle's first movie, Susan Sarandon's first movie, my first real job on a set, on a professional set. Then I became friends with John G. Avildsen because I saw he was talented in the same way that I saw that James Gunn was talented, or Eli Roth, or others. But I saw Avildsen, and I was only a shit boy on the set, but I saw how he was setting up the shots, and I really appreciated it. And I could see he loved cinema. So then I kind of attached myself to him and forced him to watch one of my early movies, and which the poor bastard had to watch because I was there with him, at his house no less, at his apartment. And he was very nice about it, and I think his wife watched it too. And Battle of Love's Return, in which Oliver Stone has a part, and some of the Warhol people who I met when I was hanging out on the fringes of Andy Warhol's world. But anyway, I became friends with Avildsen, and I told him, hey, if you're trying to get another movie going, I'm happy to, I'd like to work on it and work for free while you're trying to get something going. So he did get something going, which turned out to be Cry Uncle, which you can see on Troma now. And it is a hilarious film. When it came out, it was X-rated, but Avildsen was terrific at transforming garbage into gold. Joe was a piece of garbage until Avildsen had it rewritten and made it into gold. And Cry Uncle, the same. Cry Uncle was a low-budget, schlocko, softcore porn movie, basically, based on a paperback book. Pulpy type novel.
Yeah.
Avildsen was hired to direct it, and he convinced the money guy to let him hire another writer, and they totally remade it into a hilarious slapstick satire with the name Cry, and they named it Cry Uncle, the detective movie, and instead of a handsome-looking James Bond type in the main part of the detective, they cast Alan Garfield, a little fat guy, and the romantic lead was this tall, ostrich-like off-Broadway actress, very weird-looking, and the movie was X-rated, without a doubt. In fact, he even got busted a couple of times.
Really?
But it was hilarious, and it was a huge, it cost $150,000, and I raised some of the money for it, so I know we made out that it was hugely profitable and was number one on the box office of the United States when it came out. It was number one on the box office page in Variety for at least 1 week. So, and you can see that movie on Troma now, redistributed, and it's terrific. It's hilarious.
I've never seen it. I'm going to have to give it a shot.
I think today it would be an R-rated movie, but for its day, it was pretty strong stuff. But not erotic. It was slapstick. It was more funny. It's hilarious. It's a wonderful film. And then he got the gig. Joe was a huge hit while we were making Cry Uncle. Joe became an enormous, he won the Oscar. He got nominated for screenplay, and which is amazing for a low budget, $100,000 budget, made in New York by all unknowns. So by the time Rocky came along, Stallone and Avildsen wanted to film in Philadelphia, but the money guys, A, they didn't want Stallone, and B, they wanted to film in L.A. But finally they accepted Stallone on a very low budget, I think $1 million, which even then was considered very, very small. Today it's considered a minute budget that wouldn't even be considered probably. But the only way they could shoot in Philadelphia, the producers couldn't pay for bringing the union crew and cast to Philadelphia to shoot. So the idea was they would use our crew, and we would shoot in Philadelphia until the unions caught on, which after 8 days, the truck drivers, the Teamsters, discovered us, and that was the end of it. But all those great shots of running up the stairs of the museum and Rocky in the pet store and running through the fruit market and all those beautiful exteriors too were shot with non-union scads like me. I was like the line producer, and we had to get all the locations, and so it was basically a very underground group that made this movie. At least those great 8 days. And Michael Amaris, my partner and his wife, were syncing up the dailies. In those days, you had 35 millimeter, but it would come out of the camera as silent film, and the sound would come out of a Nagra, a tape recorder, top quality tape recorder. So then you had to put the sound on 35 millimeter sound film, and then you lined up the sprocket holes of the sound film with the picture film, and then you could run it through a projector. That's what the clapstick's all about. You'd line that up together with the two hopefully it's making sense. Yeah. And then it would be in sync, and then you'd send it. So they would sync it up in the Troma office and then send it to Philadelphia. So the next day we could watch the dailies, and the lab was in New York, obviously. So Michael and Maris would hear what was coming out of. They would hear and see the very first scenes shot about Rocky. So historic, and we had the crappiest. Our editing equipment, Moviola was what it was called. The Moviola, which was the standard of equipment. The ones we had had to be 50 years old at least back in 1970. From the 20s, probably the 30s. Anyway, Michael and Maris were listening through the earphones to the sound, and they hear. They were like, "What the fuck is this?" And but my mother-in-law had read the script prior to our filming, and she predicted it would be a big hit, and indeed she was right.
Oh yeah.
And it turned into one of the seminal movies, and I'm in it, and people can make fun of Troma all they want, which people look down their noses at us, but I had full experience on 2 seminal movies, Rocky and Saturday Night Fever, and I played a fairly important part in both those movies. Unusual parts, kind of union busting a little bit, because they never could have made those movies on the budgets they had. Saturday Night Fever was also very low budget, and John G. Avildsen was supposed to be the director on it. So the whole idea again was to try to make a much bigger looking movie with all the dancing and lots of people in it and all that on a very small budget, because Travolta in those days was not, he was only known by a teenage set because he was in a TV show called Welcome Back, Kotter, and he was not a dancer. So, it was a risky project. And the Bee Gees weren't that big either. The Bee Gees actually, I think, were on a descent. I think they were heading downstream. And anyway, the movie, Avildsen didn't continue with it. Another director, John Badham, B-A-D-H-A-M, came on it, and he proved to be a great director also. So the movie is, in fact, a great movie, but we saved a huge amount by shooting on location, and we had a contest with people off the street, a dance contest, and if they wore costumes of Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, they'd come dressed properly and dance. We'd pick the best ones to, I didn't, the director did, actually be in the movie during the dance scenes, the dance contests, the disco scenes. And anyway, that was my film school, basically, Saturday Night Fever and Rocky. And at the same time, Troma was trying to establish itself. Michael Hers and I were trying to scrape along, and we would I would pay we'd pay the rent by I would take jobs, and I was in the Directors Guild, which I quit later on because they were nasty. They that was union mentality. Closed, and in those days the unions were all white men too, very ugly. They're still pretty much white men, but a little more open-minded, I guess.
So you never wanted to work with a major studio again after working on The Final Countdown?
Wow, you are extremely well prepared. Thank you so much. I'm flattered. Yeah. And if you want to see me, well, actually, I talk about it. Try to get I think, having spoken to you, and I don't have a lot more time, I have to say. We could do another session. I've got a journalist waiting at 4 o'clock, so we could do another session if you'd like.
Yeah, we can plan it out.
Thank you for being so well prepared. Yeah, The Final Countdown was the last time I had any interest in doing anything through the mainstream. It took about 4 years, 5 years just to get it going, and it was produced by one of Kirk Douglas's sons. So that was bad enough. And maybe it was 4 or 5 years. And but then if you, I've read, I write about it in All I Need to Know About Filmmaking. I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. You can get it on, it's like $1, I think, or something. I mean, the book itself is on Amazon and Troma website, tromadirect.com. But you can get the digital one. Anyway, I talk about Saturday Night Fever and how disappointing it was, because basically nobody cared about making a good movie except for Kirk Douglas, his son, and me. Maybe there was one of the many producers, I think, was trying. But basically it was all about how much the crew could glom on the petty cash, and what were you going to have. What was for lunch was much more important than anything to do with filming. We had to fire the entire technical crew after the first week. That kind of stuff. So, I had a lot of fun getting threatened. I was associate producer on that one, which is kind of like line producer. Production manager, basically.
Right. All right, yeah, we can set up a second session whenever you'd like, whenever you got free time, Lloyd.
You sure?
Yeah.
So you're interested? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so call Tom and set up another session if you'd like. Unfortunately, I've got to go in a couple of minutes.
That's okay.
What's your main interest? I mean, I should have asked you this before we started, but what is your main interest? I mean, you made a movie. Sounds like you're a multitasker.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be, I wanted to make movies, wanted to be an actor, and I love making music, and I love the heavy, hardcore punk type stuff, so that's right up my alley.
Yeah, that's kind of upbeat, I suppose. Clearly I'm not punk myself, but I guess my attitude is a bit rebellious, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say.
It's interesting the people who got attracted, like Lemmy and others, the Misfits and wrestlers.
Yeah.
The wrestlers like us. So it's kind of an interesting mix of bands.
Right. What do you consider your crowning
And
achievement?
Well, also the Cinémathèque Française and the Kennedy Center and the St. Petersburg Film Institute. You know, a lot of snazzy intellectual film museums. The Museum of the Moving Image in New York and the Museum of Modern Art. They've all many all over the world. They've created Troma, retrospectives and festivals and seasons and stuff like that. So, we have kind of a rarefied following in the intellectual world, and then a cult following in the regular world. It's kind of weird. But basically, economically, we are blacklisted. So that's the biggest issue. The movie and entertainment and the media industries are, it looks like there's lots of room for independent and diverse voices, but as you have probably found, I certainly have found, the industry is in hands of fewer and fewer people, and the internet is now being, they were going to start ransacking the internet.
Right.
They want to be able to, favor the ISPs want to, who happen to be people like Warner Brothers now. So they want to have their own, they're going to favor their own their own internet service, their own content, as they call it. They'll be able to favor that and slow down you or Troma or competitors. And there are only 2 or 3 major ISPs. So they have a club with the big studios who are, in fact, part of some of the 2 or 3 of the ISPs. So it's a closed, it's a cartel. It's a cartel. Netflix and Amazon are part of it. They're part of it. But it ain't good for the independent movie studios. And as you can see, there are no independent movie studios that I know, except for Troma. And nobody even knows that Troma is still around, except for you and a few others.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there were like 30 or 40 of these little studios when I was coming along after Yale. And in fact, there were a bunch of them in New York. And now they're all gone. There's none of them left. Roger Corman, I think, is still active. Yeah, I know he's still active. We're buddies. But he's basically got contracts with Disney and some big companies. I don't think he's doing it on his own. And lucky him, I think Sci-Fi Channel. I think he's doing stuff for Sci-Fi. Whatever it is, he's still active at the age of 92 and a great guy. But he's luckily in with a bigger outfit. He's in with one of the vassals of the giant conglomerates, whereas we're out there on our own.
That's right.
Very fragile out there on a branch at the end of a very fragile branch. Or we've painted ourselves into a corner.
Yeah, things happen.
So, meanwhile, we're more famous than ever, but we have less revenue than ever. So that's a big problem, as you can tell. It's hard to make $500,000 movies if you're not making a profit. And now there are many micro-budget movies being made, but as good as many of them are, it's impossible for them to get to the eyes of the public because Troma is one of the very few, about the only one that can get them any sort of attention. So we have a movie opening April 30th, if you can mention that. We have 2 movies. One is Slashing the Final Beginning, which is directed by the fellow who wrote #Shakespeare Shitstorm. That's opening in Los Angeles at Laemmle Cinemas on April 30th. Actually, April 29th, there's going to be an appearance at the movie theater, a panel and a big deal at the theater.
Yeah.
And then on the 30th will be the run, the theater and online. Laemmle is an independent theater chain, and the gold standard is very good. And then Mutant Blast, which was playing in LA in a few theaters before COVID came and everything closed. that'll open in New York. We have at least one theater going, and that one got to start getting booked into movies. And hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm is playing festivals, but it's at some point we'll start booking theaters. It's just they're not. I think I want to wait till there's a full, till they can have 100% attendance, because usually we only get 1 week maximum, or a weekend, or sometimes just one night. So we want 100%, because hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm did cost about $500,000. The other two were modest, much less. So that's the basic parameters, and let's maybe give Tom a call, and Tom D'Amico, and we'll set up another talk.
All right.
Great, and good luck in Port Huron. If there are any drive-ins there, we're getting into drive-ins now. So if there's any drive-ins, then you want to program, you could program it and curate the show, and maybe I can come out there and we run the Q&A. And I did go to a theater in, I think it was on one of the lakes, or near one of the, it was on one of the lakes, I think. An independent theater that I think has since gone belly up, and they were trying to raise money through GoFundMe or one of those things.
Yeah.
You know which one it was? It's kind of famous.
Yeah.
I actually went there.
I'm not sure which one.
Well, anyway.
All right, Lloyd. Thank you.
If there are any theaters or drive-ins, see what you can do. Maybe bring hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm there, and we'll have the premiere, Michigan premiere.
That sounds great. I'll get back to you, Lloyd.
And if you make a deal, you can take the agent's fee also, make a little dough.
Nice.
All righty. Talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on the call.
My pleasure. Bye. Bye.